Let's be honest. Your life is filled with things that no longer serve you. They weigh you down, drain your energy, and keep you trapped in cycles of suffering. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you're still holding on? Sometimes, the most powerful act isn't about shouting your decisions to the world. It's about quietly letting go of everything that keeps you stuck. Toxic relationships. Let them dissolve. Self-destructive habits. Release them. And no, you don't need anyone's approval to begin this journey. In today's video, I'll show you how to follow the teachings of Buddhism to let go of attachment, free your mind, and step into a lighter, more meaningful life. The Buddha taught that clinging to what no longer serves us is the root of suffering. Together, we'll uncover 10 things you need to release, step by step, to find peace and freedom. And trust me, the final one will leave you speechless, so stay until the end. Start today, quietly and without excuses. Remember, the path to liberation begins with what you choose to let go of. Are you ready to break free and live with mindfulness and intention? Before we begin, let me share a story that will illustrate the profound wisdom behind this practice. In a serene village nestled near a vast bamboo forest lived a woman named Maya. Known for her skill in weaving intricate bamboo mats, she often worked tirelessly to create designs that reflected her inner world. Her work was admired by many, but over the years, Maya had accumulated a mountain of discarded bamboo scraps, broken tools, and unfinished projects in her workshop. Maya's attachment to these remnants was deeply rooted. She believed they held the promise of future masterpieces or memories of past accomplishments. Yet, the clutter began to take over her workspace, leaving little room to create freely. Her once peaceful haven had become a source of frustration and stagnation. One fateful morning, an old monk named Arjuna visited the village. Known for his wisdom, he often walked barefoot through the bamboo forest, sharing teachings of mindfulness and simplicity with those who sought clarity. Curious, Maya invited the monk to her workshop, hoping he might offer insight into her creative struggles. Arjuna stepped inside and observed the chaos. Piles of unused bamboo leaned against the walls, broken tools covered the tables, and half-finished mats lay scattered across the floor. Maya sighed deeply and said, "I don't understand why I feel so trapped. I have all the materials I need, yet I cannot weave as I once did." The monk smiled gently and replied, "Maya, do you see the bamboo grove outside? Each stalk grows tall and straight, free from unnecessary burdens. When a stalk falls, it returns to the earth, nourishing new growth. It does not cling to the past or hold on to what no longer serves it." Maya looked out the window at the grove, its golden-green stalks swaying gracefully in the breeze. The simplicity of the forest suddenly contrasted sharply with the chaos of her workshop. Arjuna continued, "Just as the bamboo thrives by letting go of what it does not need, so too must we release the attachments that weigh us down. Attachment is the root of suffering, Maya. To create freely, you must first clear your space, both outside and within." That evening, inspired by the monk's words, Maya began to sort through her workshop. One by one, she let go of the scraps she'd clung to out of fear she might someday need them. She repaired tools she could and discarded those beyond saving. As she worked, she noticed a strange lightness growing within her, a clarity she hadn't felt in years. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the bamboo grove, Maya sat at her now clear workspace. The silence was profound, yet it felt alive, like the stillness before a breeze. She picked up a fresh stalk of bamboo and began weaving. The mat that emerged was unlike anything she had created before, simple yet elegant, reflecting the peace she now carried in her heart. Months later, when Arjuna passed through the village again, he visited Maya. She welcomed him warmly and showed him her newly transformed workshop and her latest creations. Arjuna smiled and said, "You've discovered a great truth, Maya. The greatest art arises not from accumulation, but from letting go. Simplicity clears the mind and allows wisdom to flow like a river." From that day forward, Maya became known not just for her exquisite mats, but also for her serene presence. Villagers often came to her for advice, and she would tell them, "Like the bamboo, we grow strongest when we release what no longer serves us. Let go, and you will find space to thrive." 1. Let go of the fear of others' opinions. In a small village nestled at the foot of a mountain, there lived a young monk named Sila. Sila was admired by many for his dedication to meditation and his ability to recite the teachings of the Buddha. However, despite his outward calmness, Sila carried a deep fear within his heart, the fear of others' opinions. Every day, Sila would carefully choose his words and actions, ensuring he didn't offend anyone. He would worry endlessly about whether his teacher approved of his progress or if the villagers thought he was truly enlightened. Over time, this fear began to weigh on him, distracting him during his meditations and leaving him feeling disconnected from the very peace he sought. One day, Sila approached his teacher, a wise and compassionate elder named Bhante. "Master," Sila began hesitantly, "I feel trapped. I meditate, I follow the teachings, yet I can't silence the voice in my mind that constantly questions what others think of me. How can I find peace?" Bhante smiled gently and pointed to a clay pot filled with water. "Carry this pot through the village," he instructed, "but be careful not to spill a single drop. The villagers will shout, laugh, and comment on your every step. Do not let their words distract you." Though puzzled, Sila obeyed. As he walked through the village, the people began to jeer and criticize. Some called him clumsy, others mocked his seriousness. Sila felt his anxiety rising, but he focused on the pot, determined not to spill the water. By the time he returned to the temple, he was exhausted but relieved. "Well done," Bhante said. "Now tell me, did their words change the amount of water in the pot?" Sila shook his head. "No, Master." "Exactly," Bhante replied. "The water represents your inner peace. Others will always have opinions, but those opinions cannot alter your essence unless you allow them to. Walk your path like you carried that pot, mindfully and without distraction." From that day on, Sila practiced focusing inward instead of worrying about the external noise. He came to understand that clinging to the approval of others only fed his suffering. By letting go, he began to taste the freedom of the Buddha's teachings. 2. Release toxic relationships. In a bustling city in ancient India, a merchant named Anjali lived a life of outward success. Her shop was always filled with customers, and her wealth grew with each passing year. Yet, despite her fortune, Anjali felt a void within her. Her closest relationships were fraught with tension and conflict. Her best friend often belittled her accomplishments, claiming Anjali owed her success to luck. Her business partner was deceitful, secretly diverting profits. Even her family burdened her with unrealistic expectations, draining her with constant demands. Anjali felt trapped, unable to let go of these relationships for fear of being seen as ungrateful or cruel. One evening, Anjali sought refuge at the local monastery, where a serene monk sat in meditation. Summoning her courage, she approached and shared her troubles. "Venerable monk," she said, "I feel exhausted and unhappy, yet I cannot let go of the people who harm me. Is it wrong to walk away?" The monk opened his eyes and smiled. "Anjali, do you see that tree over there? Its branches are heavy with rotting fruit. What do you think will happen if it clings to those fruits instead of letting them fall?" "They will infect the healthy parts of the tree," Anjali replied. "Exactly," said the monk. "Your life is like that tree. Relationships rooted in attachment but lacking compassion are like those rotten fruits. If you cling to them, they will drain your energy and harm your growth." "But how do I let go without causing harm?" Anjali asked. "Detachment does not mean cruelty," the monk explained. "It means releasing what no longer serves the well-being of all involved. Approach these relationships with loving kindness. Be honest but gentle as you create space for yourself. If they are meant to remain, they will adapt and grow alongside you. If not, trust that their departure will bring balance." Inspired, Anjali began to take small steps. She set clear boundaries with her family, confronted her dishonest partner, and allowed the friendship that no longer served her to fade naturally. Though it was not easy, she found herself feeling lighter and more at peace. Anjali learned that the Buddha's teachings on compassion applied to herself as well. By releasing toxic relationships with love and understanding, she created space for harmony to flourish within and around her. 3. Abandon self-destructive habits. Self-destructive habits often take root without our conscious awareness. They begin as small actions, indulging in cravings, procrastinating, or engaging in negative self-talk, and gradually grow into patterns that hinder our well-being. The Buddha taught that these habits are rooted in ignorance and craving, two of the primary causes of suffering in the cycle of dukkha, suffering or dissatisfaction. Mindfulness is the key to breaking free from these destructive patterns. Mindless behaviors often thrive because we aren't paying attention to them. For example, reaching for your phone the moment you feel bored might seem harmless, but over time, it can evolve into a compulsive distraction that disconnects you from the present moment. Similarly, self-critical thoughts may begin as fleeting reactions to mistakes, but when left unchecked, they become a constant inner dialogue that erodes your self-esteem. The first step is awareness. The Buddha emphasized the importance of observing the mind without judgment. This practice, known as sati or mindfulness, helps you recognize your habits for what they are: conditioned responses. When you notice yourself engaging in a self-destructive habit, pause. Acknowledge the urge without acting on it. You might say to yourself, "This is craving," or "This is avoidance." Labeling the action gives you space to reflect rather than react. Compassion is equally important. Be kind to yourself as you uncover these habits. It's natural to feel frustrated or ashamed, but self-criticism only strengthens the cycle. Instead, adopt an attitude of curiosity. Why do I turn to this habit? What need am I trying to fulfill? This approach transforms self-judgment into self-understanding. As you become more mindful, you can start replacing destructive habits with skillful ones. For instance, if you notice that stress triggers overeating, practice mindful eating instead. Sit down with your meal, take deep breaths, and truly taste each bite. This simple act not only reduces the craving, but also reinforces a healthier connection with your body. The Buddha taught that transformation happens through right effort, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. By bringing effort and mindfulness into your daily life, you can gradually weaken self-destructive patterns and replace them with actions rooted in wisdom and compassion. Every small step matters. Like planting a seed, the results may not appear immediately, but with consistent care, your efforts will bear fruit. Let mindfulness guide you away from destructive habits and toward a life of balance and peace. 4. Drop the illusion of control. Clinging to control is a deeply ingrained human tendency. We create plans, anticipate outcomes, and often feel uneasy when life doesn't unfold as expected. The Buddha taught that this attachment to control is a primary cause of suffering. It stems from the illusion that we can manipulate impermanence to fit our desires. The truth is that nothing in life is permanent. People change, circumstances shift, and the world moves in unpredictable ways. Trying to control everything is like attempting to hold water in your hands. It inevitably slips through your fingers. When we resist this truth, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. Instead, the Buddha encouraged us to embrace the principle of anicca, or impermanence. Recognizing that everything is in constant flux doesn't mean surrendering to chaos. It means aligning with reality. When you stop fighting against the nature of life, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Consider a simple example. A sudden rainstorm disrupts your plans for a picnic. You could react with anger or frustration, wishing the weather were different, but your feelings won't stop the rain. Alternatively, you could accept the situation and adjust, perhaps by having your picnic indoors or enjoying the sound of the rain as a gift from nature. This shift in perspective doesn't change the circumstance, but it transforms your experience of it. Dropping the illusion of control also applies to relationships and outcomes. Often, we try to manage how others behave or ensure specific results in our careers or personal lives. This leads to constant tension because we're attempting to control things beyond our power. The Buddha reminded us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and responses. Letting go of attachment to external outcomes creates space for peace and resilience. One way to practice this teaching is through meditation. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts as they arise and pass away, like clouds moving across the sky. Notice how no thought lasts forever and no feeling stays permanent. This simple practice trains your mind to let go of control and trust in the flow of life. Embracing impermanence doesn't mean becoming passive. It means engaging with life fully while understanding that you cannot dictate every detail. It's about finding balance, planning for the future, while remaining open to the unexpected. When you release the illusion of control, you discover freedom. You're no longer tethered to the anxiety of what if, and can navigate life with greater ease and grace. 5. Release unrealistic expectations. The Buddha's teachings reveal that clinging to unrealistic expectations, whether of ourselves, others, or life, leads to disappointment and suffering. Life is unpredictable, ever-changing, and often beyond our control. When we demand perfection from ourselves or insist that life align with our vision, we set ourselves up for frustration. In Buddhism, the principle of equanimity teaches us to remain steady in the face of life's ups and downs, to accept life as it unfolds without clinging to desires or rejecting discomfort. Unrealistic expectations often arise from our attachment to specific outcomes. We expect our careers to progress without obstacles, our relationships to bring us constant joy, or our personal growth to be linear. Yet the reality is that life includes setbacks, challenges, and surprises. Reflect on this. How many times have your expectations created unhappiness? Perhaps you expected praise for your efforts at work and received criticism instead, or you planned a perfect vacation that was disrupted by unforeseen events. When we cling to expectations, we create a mental blueprint for happiness that the world is unlikely to follow. Instead of fixating on how life should be, practice mindful presence. Observe your thoughts without judgment, noticing when expectations creep in. The key is not to abandon your goals or stop striving for growth, but to approach life with openness and flexibility. For example, instead of saying, "I must succeed at this project," try, "I will do my best, and the outcome will teach me what I need to know." Cultivating gratitude for what is, rather than yearning for what should be, can transform your perspective. Acknowledge the beauty in imperfection and the lessons in adversity. Remember the story of the cracked pot. A water carrier had two pots, one of which was cracked and leaked water along the path. Over time, the crack helped flowers grow along the trail, bringing unexpected beauty to the journey. Letting go of unrealistic expectations is not about lowering your standards, but about freeing yourself from the chains of attachment. By releasing the craving for perfection, you create space for joy in the present moment and learn to navigate life's unpredictability with grace. 6. Let go of the need to always be right. The Buddha often taught that attachment to views and opinions is a form of ego clinging. The desire to always be right stems from a deep-seated need to affirm our self-worth. We feel validated when others agree with us, but this need can create conflict, alienate loved ones, and block genuine understanding. Consider this scenario. You're in a heated discussion with a friend, and the conversation spirals into an argument. Your focus shifts from exploring ideas to proving your point, no matter the cost. The friendship suffers because of your insistence on winning. Was the victory worth the damage? The Buddha taught the value of right speech and non-attachment to views. Right speech emphasizes kindness, truth, and the intention to promote harmony. Non-attachment to views means being open to new perspectives and not rigidly clinging to your own. It's not about suppressing your beliefs, but about loosening your grip on them to allow mutual understanding to flourish. Letting go of the need to always be right requires mindfulness. When you feel the urge to correct someone, pause and ask yourself, what is my intention here? Am I seeking understanding, or am I feeding my ego? Practicing compassionate listening helps you focus on the other person's feelings and perspective rather than plotting your rebuttal. Humility is a powerful tool. Admitting, "I don't know everything," is liberating. It opens the door to learning and deepening connections with others. Buddhist teachings remind us that clinging to being right isolates us, while humility and openness foster community and peace. Try an experiment. In your next disagreement, choose to listen without interrupting. Let the other person fully express their thoughts and respond with curiosity rather than defense. You may find that relinquishing the need to win enriches the conversation and strengthens the relationship. Letting go of the need to always be right is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. It reflects a commitment to inner peace and a recognition that true connection matters more than fleeting victories. As the Buddha taught, winning over oneself is greater than winning over others. 7. Declutter your physical and mental space. The Buddha often spoke of the profound freedom found in simplicity. When our environment is cluttered, It reflects and reinforces the chaos in our minds. A disorganized space can act as a distraction, pulling us away from mindfulness and creating a subtle, persistent tension in our lives. Clearing out the unnecessary, whether physical objects or mental baggage, makes room for clarity and peace. Imagine you're sitting down to meditate in a room filled with scattered papers, dirty dishes, and piles of clothes. Your mind is likely to mirror that environment, jumping from one thing to another, unable to settle. But if the space is clean and organized, it invites focus and calm. In the same way, decluttering your mind involves identifying the thoughts and worries that no longer serve you and releasing them through mindfulness practices. Start small. Tackle a single drawer, a corner of your desk, or even your email inbox. As you let go of unused or unneeded items, notice the sense of lightness that arises. Extend this process to your mental space by practicing meditation. Use techniques like noting, where you acknowledge a thought, label it, and let it pass without judgment. The Buddha taught that the path to liberation is not about accumulation, but about letting go. Material possessions, he explained, can become chains that tie us to desire and attachment. By clearing your surroundings and mind, you create space for what truly matters: wisdom, compassion, and a deeper connection to the present moment. Let go of comparisons. Comparison is often called the thief of joy, and for good reason. When you measure your life against others, you lose sight of your own unique journey. The Buddha taught that happiness doesn't come from what you have or don't have compared to someone else. It arises from within, cultivated through gratitude, contentment, and a deep appreciation for your own path. Think about it. Comparing yourself to others places you in a competition that no one signed up for. You might envy someone's success, lifestyle, or appearance, but what you see is only a fraction of their story. Meanwhile, this habit blinds you to your own progress and blessings. The Buddhist practice of mudita, or sympathetic joy, offers an antidote. This principle encourages us to celebrate others' successes as if they were our own. When you see someone thriving, instead of feeling envy, wish them well. This shift softens the heart and frees the mind from resentment. Gratitude is another powerful tool. By focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, you retrain your mind to see abundance instead of scarcity. Each day, reflect on 3 things you're grateful for, big or small. This simple practice can transform your outlook and remind you of the blessings unique to your life. The Buddha's teachings remind us that we are all on our own journey, shaped by our karma and choices. Embrace your path, release comparisons, and trust that your life unfolds exactly as it should. 9. Quiet the noise of digital distractions. In the modern world, screens have become an inescapable part of daily life. Notifications buzz, emails flood in, and endless scrolling consumes hours of our time. This digital noise scatters the mind, making it difficult to focus or find peace. The Buddha emphasized the importance of simplicity and silence, 2 qualities that can feel distant in the age of constant connectivity. Consider this: every ping, buzz, or pop-up steals a moment of your attention, fragmenting your thoughts and pulling you away from the present. The result? A restless mind and an overwhelming sense of busyness, even when nothing meaningful is accomplished. To reclaim your inner peace, practice digital mindfulness. Start with small steps. Set boundaries for when and how you engage with technology. For example, commit to a screen-free morning routine or designate specific times to check your messages. When using your devices, focus on one task at a time, just as you would bring mindfulness to eating or walking. The Buddha taught the value of noble silence, not just in speech, but in how we engage with the world. Disconnecting from digital chaos allows you to reconnect with yourself. Take time to meditate without distractions. Let your mind settle and observe the thoughts that arise. In these moments of quiet, you may notice how deeply technology has impacted your mental state and how freeing it feels to step away. Ultimately, quieting digital noise is an act of compassion toward yourself. It opens space for mindfulness, meaningful connections, and the clarity to focus on what truly matters. 10. Release negative thought patterns. Negative thoughts can feel like heavy clouds, obscuring the light of peace and joy. These thoughts often arise uninvited, fueled by self-doubt, regret, or worry about the future. The Buddha likened them to seeds that, when nurtured, grow into suffering. But through mindfulness and self-compassion, these seeds can be replaced with those of loving kindness and gratitude. First, recognize that negative thoughts are not you. They are temporary, like passing clouds. Instead of resisting or suppressing them, observe them with curiosity and detachment. This practice, often called mindfulness of thought, allows you to see these patterns for what they are, fleeting and without true power, unless you give them energy. For instance, when a thought like, "I'm not good enough," arises, take a moment to pause. Acknowledge it without judgment and gently redirect your focus. Replace it with a compassionate affirmation such as, "I am enough as I am." This shift requires practice, but leads to profound changes in how you relate to yourself. The Buddha also taught the importance of cultivating positive mental states. The practice of metta, or loving-kindness meditation, helps counteract negative thoughts. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and silently repeat phrases like, "May I be happy," "May I be peaceful," "May I be free from suffering." Extend this wish to others, including those you find challenging. Gratitude is another powerful tool for releasing negativity. By focusing on what you appreciate in life, you train your mind to seek the positive. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Over time, this habit rewires your thought patterns toward joy and contentment. Remember, negative thoughts are like waves. They rise and fall, but they don't define the ocean. By practicing mindfulness, self-compassion, and gratitude, you can navigate these waves with grace, returning to the calm and clarity within.